Hi everyone, I'm Ian and I'm on a spiritual awakening journey. I've tried to make a couple of videos already, but I overthought them, so I'm trying a new approach. It's now the Leo new moon, so it's the 25th of July 2025, and from what I can gather there's a lot of things going on. And it could be, the dawning of the new human, which is a very exciting time. And my spiritual journey has really it's been a full-on 9 months of magic and synchronicity. And so, yeah, I wanted to share basically my thoughts and feelings on a regular basis, today being the first day of the Lionsgate portal. I wanted to set an intention to try and make videos now where I don't plan it, what I'm going to say, and just share, what's in my heart, what's happening in my journey, also, my, some thoughts and feelings on what's going on a day-to-day basis, I guess. So firstly, so my meditation this morning was really good. I've spent a lot of time recently looking outside of myself for information, so watching YouTube videos and reading a lot of really good material, which I'll talk about another time. But today I set an intention of just going into myself, listening to myself, not relying on music, which I normally listen to crystal singing bowls to get that high frequency and vibration into my body, and I enjoy it, but I really wanted to try and listen to myself with no distractions, no aids, if you like. I feel like I've become dependent on a lot of information out there. So it was really good. Initially, meditation I didn't think was really going anywhere, but it was very nice and still and peaceful. And then got some good information and intuition about, what I'm meant to be doing, really. So I think a lot of my attention has been on the upgrades that we might be receiving during this period of lots of planets in retrograde and the Leo new moon, and the Lionsgate portal coming. So there's this human side of me that is really keen to get these upgrades, and tap into more psychic ability. I had a period of connection late last year, and ever since I feel like in some part of me's been chasing to get back to that, and I'm trying to be as patient as I can be. But that's not easy when I've got this real strong sense of knowing what's coming. So this is a test of patience, and again, with each kind of video I watch or thing that I read about these big things coming, it builds the excitement. But these things happen slowly. It has to come over time, and it will come to us in our own divine timing, I guess. So what I got in my meditation this morning was more just confirmation of actually these things are already happening. So I'm getting snippets of audio, clairaudience, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. I don't know really whose it is or where it comes from, which is kind of new. In that period of connection, it was very clear that it was meant for me, as connection is. So the kind of the audio snippets that I've heard in the meantime can be a bit confusing. And I was hoping for clear messages, and actually it's a bit more subtle than that sometimes. But it's kind of more validation that the clairaudience is kind of coming on for me more and more. And I've been having this kind of really heavy feeling in the pit of my stomach. And for many months, I've been contemplating whether it's my own trauma from this life, whether it's my own trauma from past lives, or whether it's, the greater archetypal trauma that we all carry within us. And felt like today I got clarity on it being, the trauma that belongs to all of us, and, that all of us can take some responsibility for healing. So that's what I gained in my meditation this morning, just some clarification that all these things are already happening, and maybe they're not happening quite as quickly as I want them to, and it's not all, singing, dancing, bells and whistles, this is for you, clear messages. Sometimes it's a bit more subtle than that. Certainly, I guess when the synchronicities at the moment have been so in my face, it feels like the messages are going to be very clear. But my higher self came to me and, reassured me that it's all happening exactly how it's meant to be happening. And really it was a kind of an aha moment for me today, where actually, some of my power is in my compassion to, those feelings, traumas that I have in the pit of my stomach. And that leads me to a bit of a story. So last night I saw my parents, and we were kind of debating, the nature of the universe and whether there's a God or not, whatever you believe. But, my mum and dad's argument is, well, why is there such suffering in the world? And they gave an example of a man who kind of beat his own kind of young baby. And that's feels difficult to talk about, as an example of anything, really. And you can't not feel the heaviness that comes with such a traumatic story, and how, in my parents' words, how that's evil. And in that moment, speaking to them yesterday, it was difficult to really have an angle or a view or a defense of how that all might play a part in all of this in a way that they were going to accept, right? But after contemplating overnight and meditating today, it became clear that, I think for me, what became clear in meditation was my strength of compassion. And I have compassion for that man that did such horrible things, because, certainly if I think about my path, and I think about some of the ways that I behave sometimes, that's all been informed by my life, my current life, my past lives, the archetypal trauma that we all carry. So this morning I really thought about, well, if he, what kind of life he would have had to get to that stage where he felt he needed to, beat up his own baby in that way. And I think, it struck me that I have no idea what that man has been through in this life, in past lives. What kind of level of pain was he in to do such a horrific thing? And the challenge is, to put yourself in his shoes and say, if I'd have had the life that he had, with all the trauma and pain that he was carrying, would I have been able to stop myself from doing the same? I think this is what we're all here to do, isn't it? We're all here to transcend our own traumas, and sometimes we can't do that, and it's sad and it's horrific at times, and it's a demonstration of what is maybe wrong in this 3D world. But it's all kind of part of the tapestry of understanding ourselves better. And that's in no way to excuse such horrific things, but it might put some perspective on it. And at that moment this morning, when I realized I could have compassion for such a person that can do horrific things, then it really struck me how much my own compassion could be a superpower. And hence that's, a big part of the reason why I'm filming something today. I feel like I need to share this compassion in some way. So yeah, this was my big revelation today. Not necessarily a story that my, human kind of 3D mind would have wanted to lead back in with, but I think, sometimes you need that shock to help you realize what you've had all along, I suppose. And that's kind of it, isn't it? Sometimes these clues can be subtle in terms of the gifts and the downloads that we receive. And other times we need, a big story to really shake us into our own truth. And I think that's what I'm here to try and help us to do as well, I think, is to really shake things up and put my truth out there, and maybe to bring a few people along with me. So yeah, so exciting times ahead. I'm going to try and film a bit more regularly, and this being day one of this new style of video. Not that I got very far before, but we'll see where this path takes us now. So yeah, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.